Welcome to a more Brooke episode, if you will, of the Balanced and Bougie podcast. Today I'm interviewing Rosie Fonti. Rosie is an online transformation coach whose mission is to empower women to achieve their dream bodies, boost their confidence, build strength, embrace healthy lifestyles, and become happy, empowered individuals. I was really excited to have Rosie join the podcast. If you've been listening for a while, you know that health and fitness is a big topic here on Balanced and Bougie. One of my personal favorite topics to research and learn more about and always try to incorporate new things. So I love getting new voices in the space to hear about what works for people, what doesn't work, individual experiences, and especially any information that we can apply to women specifically. We're living in a really rich age of information for women's fitness. And I know some of you might hear that and go, seriously, we're still so far behind. But things are finally coming to light, whether it be health, as we know it in more of the health care sense, or working out, or dieting. I'm putting air quotes around that, how we eat, right? Patterns of eating, how we should be fueling our bodies. Finally, research is coming to light about how women have different experiences and should have different experiences in their health and fitness than men do. This interview is certainly not the end-all be-all. I really hope to have more people back on to get different views of this, but I am really excited that Rose and I dove into different topics a little bit surrounding women's health and fitness, such as why gaining weight is something that maybe we shouldn't fear. Especially if you're looking to build strength and endurance, you probably are going to see your scale go up. But a lot of that is muscle tone or water weight, or there's different phases that you'll go through. And that's okay, because actually what we've known for so long, this chronic dieting, under-eating, low carbohydrates, well, I didn't work out today, so I shouldn't eat as much, put the X on it, right? If we are looking at a long-term approach, as in you consider yourself an athlete, an active person, or just someone who wants longevity and health throughout their entire life, making things minuscule and looking at an individual meal or just day to day and hyperfixating on those things maybe isn't going to work for you. Now, yes, calories in, calories out, all things to be taken into account. But when we are looking to better our overall health, better our wellness, that isn't just we work out one day, eat well that day, repeat that same pattern every single day. I think we've come to know that, right? Healthy bodies in and of themselves mean health in all different aspects. So finding a way that you move that challenges you, pushes you to grow, but brings you joy, moves energy through your body in a way that feels authentic to you, gives you outlets for socialization, right? Like we talk a lot in this interview about strength training in particular. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and I will fully admit a lot of the research and resources that I consume have to do with strength training. I have found strength training to work really well for me and how it supports my body from past injuries and how it supports my metabolism, my sleep. I believe, and there is research out there that everybody, women and men, should be strength training in their own ways to different extents. Now, I'll try not to harp on that too much, but that is one of the focuses of this interview. However, I really want you to think when listening to this that yes, if you've ever been interested in trying strength training, there are so many ways to get into it. Group fitness classes, YouTube videos, start with body weight, then low weights, or you go heavy, or like Rose was saying, if you're ready to really dive in and you have a basis of knowledge or you're ready to just push yourself a little more, maybe you get a coach. Maybe you look into some resources that you have to pay for and show up for. I always encourage a healthy challenge. And the research is really going to show that pushing our bodies to those levels of healthy challenge is so beneficial. Those stressors we put on our body, right? Knowingly, willingly, like heat therapy. Some people do cold therapy, working out, building muscle, that is putting a necessary stress on your body that makes your body have to adapt. And that is where if you train now, you not only benefit now, but you also benefit down the line. Think about training and especially building and maintaining strength as a key for being able to remain active as you get older. Maintaining what's necessary for proper balance to even just live day to day, to support your body in preventing injury, recovering from injury, caring for those you love as you get older, and just feeling your best for as long as you can. Again, strength training world, I'm in it. I love it. I think it's great. But I use it also to balance out the other things that I like to do in life that bring me joy, like play sports or getting out on my bike, cycling, indoor cycling. I love it all, and I found such joy in different outlets for each thing. But I would encourage you as you listen to this interview is don't get bogged down by that strength training component alone. At the end of the day, movement, wherever you want to start, is going to benefit you mentally, emotionally, physically, maybe even spiritually. Depends how you look at it. See, I can go down rabbit holes. This is why I let Erica do the solo episodes and I bring guests on, because otherwise I could keep talking. But I'm really excited in this interview that hopefully you'll get some good informational pieces about misconceptions that are common in the world of health and fitness, especially for women. Another fun aspect of this conversation, besides just the health and fitness, is entrepreneurship and building a business. Rose took the route of entrepreneurship to start her business. And that is one theme that we kind of often touch on in this podcast too, and we are excited to talk about. We chat about why sometimes you just gotta make the jump. You just have to go for it. Can't get bogged down by the endless criteria you have to meet or certifications you have to uphold, and you just gotta go. You gotta jump. Yes, get your basis, get your knowledge, but then know when it's just fear holding you back. So that's something too that when you listen to this episode, I would encourage you to think about. Anything in your life, whether it be some sort of creative project, entrepreneurial venture, or just something that you want to express via words, via art, via movement, via anything. Think about that in relation to her journey. Think about how what she's saying and what she experienced might apply to you in a different realm. Because I think a lot of her personal experience does ring true, at least for me, and other perfectionists out there, which Rose definitely identified that she is as well. We can get so bogged down and I just have to do one more thing, or I just have to get one more certificate, or I have to... No. Sometimes you know when it's you holding you back, when it's fear holding you back, and when you're like, maybe there's not anything else I have to learn, I just have to start. And so I'd be curious. Once you listen to this episode, I love to hear your responses. Number one, so I know who to bring back, who to reach out to, what topics interested you, fueled you, and also I just want to know what landed, what resonated. So, whatever you get out of this episode, I hope you enjoy it. I hope it serves. But with that, let's get into the show. Rose, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to have you on the Balanced and Bougie podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So you are in the health and fitness space, but
Yes.
for our audience members that aren't familiar, give us a little bit of your background story. Like, how did you get to doing the work that you do today, and what do you do today?
Yeah, so essentially it all started, honestly, I want to say it started at the age of 9 because that's when my father first introduced me to personal development. And I was listening to people like Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins at the time, and my dad was sending me videos, and every now and then I would listen to them and I started goal setting, and my dad taught me like the core values and things like that. So it started at the age of 9, and I remember when goal setting first, it was like beginning for me, and I was like, okay, this is super cool. I want to be the best of the best then. And my dad always taught me to dream big. I had a big imagination and was playing with Barbies all the time and American Girl dolls, and like I was an only child, so you can only imagine the imagination I had to create just playing by myself or with my father when he had the time. And essentially I was like, okay, let's create some goals. So when I was 9 years old, I was searching what are some of the best schools, the number one school in the nation, Harvard, right? So, and then I was like, okay, I want to go to Harvard. And then next thing is like, okay, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Went to Disney World, and I was like, you know what? Like, I want to be CEO of Disney. I want to be the first CEO of Disney. And that's kind of like where it all started with the dreaming big aspect. And then later down the line, my father signed up for a Tony Robbins. It's a group where you travel around the world and you essentially go to all of his events. I went to my first event at 11, So that's kind of where it started, was just, it wasn't necessarily fitness yet, but it started with the personal development side of things.
It's really cool to hear how that was intertwined even into your childhood and like very much a natural part of yourself when that came into your world.
Yeah. It's like you have to get it developed into your brain so young.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also like, for all the parents out there, I will say, definitely train your kids to believe that they can do anything, but also give them praise. Tell them they're the best. Tell them that they're doing a good job, and because that they look for that, and they want to, you want them to believe that they can do anything they put their mind to.
Yeah.
And it's okay to give them a little extra encouragement and a little extra affirmations. Like, it's not going to make their ego go crazy. At least it didn't for me, especially from hearing it from my own father. It was honestly the best thing that he could have done for me.
Yeah, it sounds really foundational to like how you know yourself and how you navigate the world. And that's so true. Growing up, we are going to hit criticisms and things just as we become adults and even as we are navigating life of being a child. So having your parents be your biggest supporters, yeah, I can hear how that still resonates with you. So I think that's a huge thing to say to all the moms and dads, parents out
Yeah,
there.
it's huge. Then going on with that, I went to my first Tony Robbins seminar when I was 11, and that was in, I want to say, New Jersey, and that was really when it started. I got introduced to this and I was like, "Whoa, like this is crazy, this personal development side, walking on fire at the age of 11." Yeah.
Oh, you did that too? They let a kid do that? So is it you and a bunch of like grown dudes at this conference? Or like,
Yeah.
and women too, I'm sure. But like, I imagine with your dad
Yeah,
and
they
this group.
yeah, they so yeah, there was a few kids at the UPWs. But
Okay.
yeah, so I was like, I just walked on fire and I didn't get burned. My dad actually got burned a little bit, but it's all your state. And he does it on, you would think he would do it on the fourth day, but he does it on the first day. And honestly, like, was I nervous? A little bit, but I've done it twice now. Didn't do it the third time just because when you do it two times, it's just kind of like, okay, I've already done it. Like, I'm not really gonna, you have to be in state to do it, because if you're not, you're gonna burn yourself. And then I got on stage with Tony. And that was one thing, like, I kept telling my dad, like, Dad, I want to meet Tony. I want a picture with Tony, Dad. I want a picture with Tony. And he's like, everyone wants a picture with Tony Rose. And I was like, no, no, I want a picture with Tony. And then sure enough, he picks me. He's like, you, and picks me to come up on stage. So 11-year-old me like gets on stage. I'm shaking his hand in front of like 20,000 people. It was the best thing ever. And then that's where my love grew for Tony and personal development. And then just going to his events throughout the year. I've been to 7 now. Another time where I was at Business Mastery, and Business Mastery is something that you go to if you own a business. You don't bring your kid there. You don't. But I was like, Dad, I want to go to Business Mastery. And I finally persuaded him, and he asked my stepmom, he's like, should I just bring her? Like, this, she keeps wanting to go. And then I went, and that's where my parents were out of the room, and I stood up, and I was like, because again, I told my dad, Dad, I have a business idea, and it was for a lollipop. I had so many different business ideas as a kid, and it was for a lollipop business, like a flavor changing lollipop. And I was like, I need to talk to Tony about this, like I do. And my parents are like, Rosie, there's so many people in here that would die to talk to Tony. They're out of the room, and I stand up during like the little intervention time where it gives you time to like journal. And I'm
Mhm.
like, Tony, I have a question. And everyone pulls out their phone. They're sending it to my parents. And my parents like, oh my gosh, Rosie's talking to Tony. So just starting with all of that, that developed my love for coaching and personal development. And that's
Yeah.
where I didn't know at the time, like, I didn't want to be the next Tony. Like, I didn't. But it definitely developed into seeing the impact that Tony's making on people. And
Mhm.
throughout the years, I fell in love with fitness. And that's where the fitness part comes in, is that I fell in love with it, but it got to a point, this was during COVID, where like it was almost too much.
And originally meeting you and talking with you, yeah, like you worked with a fitness coach too. So you have this personal growth kind of background, and then you had your own fitness journey. So yeah, is that kind of what you mean by like it got to be a little too much?
Yeah, yeah. So This was the best thing that's ever happened to me was my parents bringing me to Tony Robbins, but I think that there's a line between, and I think society doesn't realize this. Sometimes it's all like go hard, go hard, go hard, go hard, like,
Yeah.
and like with the 75 hard and everything, because I actually did that. And that's, I would say, and I made a post about this on my Instagram. 75 hard, especially for women, is just, I don't think it's a good thing.
Hmm.
And especially with someone that had a perfectionist mindset, it was like hopping right into, I was like, okay, like I want to get healthier, I want to be fit. And then hopping right into 75 hard when the whole world is shut down,
Yeah.
it's the only thing I focus on. And if you are such a determined perfectionist, hard worker, you take it seriously.
Hmm.
And when you don't have anyone that's knowledgeable behind, and that's why getting a coach is so important, that's knowledgeable behind the way you work out and how you feel your body, it can spiral extremely quickly.
Yes. That's actually a huge thing that I talk about with my clients too, and even like the life coaching side is I'm like you, where when I found personal development and goal setting, I was like, I have to do everything. I have to consume everything. I have 10 goals. It became the basis of my self worth, right? Like whether I reached it, whether I didn't, how I was feeling. And like there was no room for adjustment in that. And that can be detrimental. And especially one thing that I'm really excited to talk to you about is women's specific health too, because as we are learning, it's like Dr. Stacy Sims who says women are not small men.
No.
Women maybe shouldn't be doing the same programs as men, or even when it comes down to how you train, when you train, going with your cycle. I don't know how you feel about that, but for some people, 75 hard is probably great accountability, but for perfectionists, it can be a dangerous rabbit hole to
Oh
fall
my
down.
gosh, yeah. And I actually, another one of my best friends, she's an online coach as well, Callie Robinson, and the same thing happened to her. It's like 75
Mhm.
hard. If you're not in the same headspace and you don't know enough, she had that where it did spiral too, because you take it to an obsessive extent. And for me, I was, I want to say I was larger as a kid, a little larger than most. And I went from going to 140 pounds to dropping all the way down to 90. And I don't like to say weight, but I was young, 12 or 13, and I was a little bigger for most. And I just go to show that I lost 45 pounds in the span of 3 months.
Being 12 to 13.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's a developmental time for your
Yes.
body. Yeah.
Yes. It was not good. And I didn't know anything. And of course, you're getting praise from everyone around you that you look so good.
Yeah.
And then you keep chasing it. You get one number, and then you want the lower number, and then you just want to keep going. And then you lose sight of I didn't know what I looked like. My energy levels were gone. I remember my parents being like, Rosie, you're not the same like your energy's gone. You used to be so happy. What happened? And they didn't realize at first because I was still eating, you know, obviously wasn't eating enough. And my parents started realizing it towards 3 months in, I want to say 4 months in. So it never was that long that I stayed there, but it was just such a rapid fast weight loss. I just remember being sad, low on energy, and like consumed with the thought of my next meal and consumed with the thought of exercising, and it was just not a healthy spot. And during the time COVID, I was working out inside, outside because the 75 hard is like 45. For people that don't know what 75 hard is, it's like a 75-day challenge of you pick your own diet, you do two 45-minute workouts, one outside and one inside, 10 pages of a book a day. I think there's something, oh, gallon of water a day as
Oh,
well.
wow. Okay. Yeah. That's intense for a 13-year-old and also an adult, right? And nothing wrong with that because you're totally right. In many ways, what you said is so key in you didn't even start to notice the detriment yourself because like our brains, they're like, well, this is what I looked like yesterday and this is what I looked like the day before. And sometimes it takes those people outside of you who are like, you are not yourself. That decline can happen almost without your knowledge. Because I know for a while, I tried to go low carb based on some things that I've learned and also body image attempts. And oh my gosh, I was freezing cold. I was working in London at the time, and I would sit in the sauna in my parka on my breaks to warm up. And I'm like, why did I not know that? And I'm like going for like spoonfuls of peanut butter just to like there's this insatiable desire to eat, but then I'm cold, I'm low energy, and why? I don't know, my brain was just not putting the pieces together. And sometimes it does, it takes someone outside of yourself to recognize that. But like you said, the world, based on losing weight, and I think we're shifting a little bit and now we really want women to be strong and to
Yes.
we are understanding the benefits of that, but that like heroin chic, just dropping weight, being low weight is still a lot of times the gold standard for women.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that's the biggest thing is like social media and comparing yourselves, but also people don't realize that with social media, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're doing to their body if they're healthy, but you also, they don't look like that most of the time. It's their best picture. You pick your best picture to post. You don't look like that. Like they have filters. They have a lot of people still do Photoshop, and you should never compare yourself to something you see online because it never is the raw truth. And I can say, like, even on my page, like, am I going to post a gym picture I look bad in? No. I'm going to be vulnerable about that. You always post the best one.
Yep. Best one, angles, filters,
Yes.
people use them, people
Lighting, everything.
lighting. Oh my gosh, totally. Yeah. I've heard that too, where sometimes the people who look flawless or it's like they have like the perfect body via camera, sometimes when you see them in person then you can recognize, you're like, oh, you know maybe they are a little underweight for their stature or things like that. You can kind of notice those things more, but so many of those factors hide behind pictures, social media, all
Yes.
of that stuff.
Even with the bodybuilding world, because I got into that as well. And guess I still am, but I remember seeing an IFBB pro in person my first time. And I was like, they're tiny.
Mm.
They on stage and in pictures they look huge. They look
Mm-hmm.
super muscular, but then on stage the lighting's good, the angles are good. Like you're seeing them at knee
Spray
height.
tan.
Like yes, and they're
Yeah.
posing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you see them in person and you're like, you're really tiny, And that's not what I expected. And not in a bad way. It's just like the bikini competitors specifically, their glutes look huge and their shoulders look huge. Like that's the whole part of the industry. And it's just like in person, you're like, oh, it's all posed. And I'm not that
Mm.
far off. Like at the time, I was like, I'm really not that far off from being a good competitor. So
Yeah.
it just goes to show that, and I told my girls this on Powerhouse Beauties the other night. I had a group meeting with them, and we were talking about relationships. Now, this is kind of on a separate subject, but with social media, it's hard to always trust in your relationship because of now with all these photos on the internet, it's easy to get in the way of your relationship. And I told these women, look, even me, like the photos that I just got taken, if you get a professional photo taken, you know that they still have to do editing if that's like on a pimple or your skin or the way, you show up. It's all edited in
Mm-hmm.
some capacity. Like that doesn't have to be body, but it's like it is edited in some capacity. So never compare yourself to that.
100%. So tell us a little bit more too about your transition then from overworking out, or where you noticed it got bad or it was pointed out to you, and then you worked with a coach, and that's how you kind of got into this entrepreneurial world even though it was definitely in you as a child, we heard, into the business you're in now. So tell us a little bit about that transition into getting into what you feel is more of a healthier space with your fitness.
That all started when I was recovering from my eating disorder and I was in the hospital. At the time, I couldn't work out, just honestly just had to eat and couldn't even go on walks. Like, they wouldn't allow me to do that. And then, with all the time I had, I did go on Instagram and I honestly, like, this was one good thing about Instagram is I was like, okay, like, if I can't be like the supermodel body type, and obviously that's not healthy, then let's find another goal. Because again, like, going back to the goal setting, like, I needed a goal. I always needed a goal. So I was like, okay, this is going to help me through it. So I started looking up to actually Gymshark athletes at the time because that's when it first started popping off. And I was like, let's shoot for becoming strong then. That way I'm not putting on a ton of fat because at the time that was really scary for me. Yes, everyone needs fat. It's essential and crucial for your body, but I was afraid of going back to where I completely was. And when I finally got cleared to work out, I started looking up to these athletes and I started weightlifting. Essentially, this is when my weightlifting started, and I started falling in love with it and in love with putting on muscle. And that's when I met my first coach, Peter. I forget his last name. It's like it's with Fit Body Physique, and he was my first coach, and he helped me a ton. And I worked with him for about, I want to say, a year and a half with him, and he got me into the bodybuilding. I wanted to compete in powerlifting. That's where it all started. And I feel like that's where it always starts. You just get in the gym and you want to lift the heaviest, you know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you just want to go and see what you can deadlift and max out. And then I was like, I tore my hamstring abductor and I was like, okay, not doing that anymore.
Yeah, reel it back a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I was like, no, we're not doing that. But then I got into essentially bodybuilding. I was interested in it and I wanted to do figure. I was so, like, I'm still tiny, but I was extremely tiny, and he was like, no, no, not
Maybe not.
figure. You could maybe do bikini after we build. And like, I'm
Mhm.
15 at the time, and my parents are like, we're not paying for this. We're not paying for this. You're gonna have to figure
Yeah.
it out. So I started paying my coach, and I invested in a coach at 15 years old, couldn't even drive yet, and he's helping me. It gives me a workout split. I'm addicted to it. We're putting on muscle. I feel good about it. Like, I feel good about putting on weight. And I think for women, putting on weight is so scary, but when you're working with a coach who's making sure that you're putting on the right weight and also helping my
Mhm.
metabolism, he was helping my metabolism out tremendously. And it just
Yes.
goes to show how much you can eat and still stay lean when you increase your metabolism and work with a coach that's going to help you get out of a deregulated metabolism, you know?
That's one of my biggest pet peeve misconceptions that I was so excited for
Yes,
us to
yes, yes.
talk about. So let's talk about it. Women are under eating. We are under eating. And I have my opinions and my thoughts and what I consume, but as someone who has like now trained in the world and has been through that, tell us your stance and or just what you see around that. Like, yeah, I heard metabolism, it wrecks your metabolism. You can't put on the muscle weight that you need. Oh, the dangers.
Yeah. So going into this, and I would say, honestly, 70% of my clients that come to me do have a deregulated metabolism and they're not eating enough, and that's why they're not losing weight. And it all comes down to certain factors, and a lot of it has to do with fad dieting. And you get into this, of course, with society, like, oh, eat less and I will lose weight. Okay. How long is that going to work? It doesn't work that long. And
Mhm.
as like human beings, and I always like to explain this to my clients, that back in the survival days, our metabolism and our body had to be able to adapt to our circumstances. If we were not getting food for a period of time, our bodies had to slow down. And live off what we had so we wouldn't die. So I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest, that helps a lot when you explain it, is that, okay, when the hunter and gatherers weren't getting food, their metabolisms had to slow down so then they could stay alive and stay warm. But then when they did have food, that's when your metabolism would speed up again, right? But after a while, if you don't eat and you continuously stay at a certain number, your body is going to think you're in survival mode and it's going to completely start shutting down. And it's like, oh, we're not getting the food that we need. And this is when, like, your energy levels are low and your hunger cues are gone and you're fatigued
Mhm.
and you can't push hard enough during your day because your body essentially has slowed down and your body is using what you have for fuel, but it's not enough for it. And explaining this to my clients, they're like, at first, when I'm like, okay, we can't diet yet, we can't do it. And at first, they're like, well, I don't want to put on weight when I say I have to up your food. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to put on weight. But most of the time, you don't end up, you either stay the same. Maybe you'll put a little bit, like maybe a pound or two, right? But it's not, it's like just to get your metabolism back going. And I had a client that she's upped her calories by 700. She has put on no weight. She's actually down 5 pounds. And that's 700 calories a day extra that she wasn't eating and she
Wow.
wasn't losing weight on. And she came to me and she's like, I'm afraid of putting on weight. You're going to up my food. Are you sure I'm not going to put on
Mm.
weight? I'm like, no, I got you. Like, we're doing this so slow. And then I got her food up, and now
Mhm.
we're finally dieting down on way more food than she even started with.
You're so right that it's like our bodies go into that survival mode. So stress levels go up, hormones are all over the place. And the body, like you said, is this amazing machine that has evolved over the entire length of time that human beings have walked the planet. And when it is chronically underfed, it's going to go into this mode where it's like, I'm storing everything, right? I'm not willing to lose this. I can't lose this. I can't afford to because then my organs won't function. This form will not keep going forward. And it's counterintuitive, right? Because there is the calories in, calories out sort of
Yeah.
thing for weight loss, yes. But if you're looking to build muscle, a physique, which burns more calories in your body, which needs more energy for to be sustained, and you need your energy to keep going so you can keep working, yeah, you need more fuel to help the car go further.
Yeah.
But it's
Literally.
scary. It is so scary because we're told the exact opposite, and we have been for so long.
Yeah, it really is. And I think if I could get that out to more people,
Yeah.
just not out to more people, but get it to a way where people will believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Because people don't believe it at first. But well, that's why you need to work with a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And continue on with the whole coach story is that I I worked for a year and a half, got my metabolism up at a really great level, and then that's when I haven't even competed. I went in my first prep at 16 for a national show.
Can you, okay, because yeah, I keep forgetting to bring this in. Can you tell our audience how old you are right now?
Yeah, I'm 18 right now.
She's 18.
So,
Yeah, that's where you're like 13, 14. She didn't drive a car a couple years ago. Yeah, she's 18.
yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would say that's the biggest thing is like no one ever believes it. They're like,
Yeah.
"What?" No. But yeah, so this was only almost 3 years ago now, but 2 years ago, and that's when I was like, okay, I want to take bodybuilding to the next level. And I went to the Arnold when I was in prep for my natural show, and I met James Atoy, and he's created the most IFBB bikini pros out of anyone. And that's where I was like, okay, if I really want to be serious about this, I'm gonna hire him on. And at the
Mm,
time, and these are on his page, so I'm allowed to say these, but it was $4,000 for a year or like 450 a month or something like that.
wow.
And I'm 16 years old and my parents are like, I'm not paying for it. But def
Yeah.
I at 16 I was working 70 hours a week. So luckily I was like, okay, I can do this. Like I'm able to do this. Paid him $4,000 and I was like, all right, I want to get my pro card. So I've been working with him for 2 years and now still working with him, but more so on the lifestyle aspect of things. But he like again, another level where my metabolism was amazing. Eating like 2,400 calories a day at,
Wow.
and I just like to say, I don't like to point out weight, but I think it's an important indicator where like I got my metabolism up to eating 2,400 calories a day while being 125 pounds, which is really good. Like that's where you should be. And
For like your height and weight, that was like right where you should be, still eating and training. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
yes. So it just goes to show that, like, when you work with a coach who's making sure that you are eating enough and you're pushing hard enough in the gym, but also that when you work with a coach, you're more prone to not have to worry about like putting on the extra weight and like he's got you or they got you, right? And just learning from them, I was like, I want to do this and I want to be a personal trainer. But then my dad, this is kind of bad. But my dad was like, Rosie, you're going to be broke if you're a personal trainer.
It's such a dad thing to say. My dad has said that about different things that I wanted to do too.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Which honestly, though, you don't make much money as a personal trainer.
Yeah, there's only so many hours in a day, right? And it's person to person interaction. So totally.
Yeah. So time went on. I was 17 at the time, and I was at the Business Mastery, another Tony event, and I'm coming up with a business idea. It was Powerhouse Beauties. I was creating the logo there and everything. And I was like, okay, I really want to do this. I didn't know where to start, but I really want to do this. I started slowly because my parents were like, to start slow, got my NASM certified personal training and nutrition. But then time went on and I wanted to get it up in the air, but for legal reasons, my parents wanted me to wait till I was 18. And then I had this program that my friend Callie introduced me to, Wealthy Women's Business Academy, and that was about $7,000. And I was like, okay, I want to do this. And my parents are like, all right, like, let's use your college fund. Because I knew I didn't want to go to college. For me, it was like, I don't want to work for someone. I don't. I don't want to work for someone. I think college is pointless and useless. I don't really hang out with people my age. I just choose not to. Nothing against them. I choose not to. And I was like, okay, I want to go a different route. But at the time, they were like, wait, you have to keep waiting. Like, and then they were like, get a little bit of a degree. So I did that. But then finally, the year went on and it's September of this year. And I'm like, you know what? I need to do it. Like, I'm just going to pay for it
Mhm.
because I need to get started. I regret not starting sooner, and everyone regrets not starting sooner. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I put it all on the line, and that's where Powerhouse Beauties essentially started.
So that's another interesting part of your story in this conversation is the entrepreneurial aspect, I think, of you and of your business. And we kind of wanted to talk about that, like jumping into the unknowns. And I too, I feel like I'm caught in personal development. I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. It is a vicious cycle. It's a beautiful thing. There are so many different ways to go about personal development, so many resources nowadays. We are luckier than ever to have what's out there. But it never stops coming at you. Another 2,000, you have to get this certificate, you have to get this, you have to get this experience, blah, 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 blah. And you talk to every other entrepreneur and they're like, no, you need to jump in, you need to just figure out what works for you. And it's so scary. But that muddling, from my understanding, and I'm in the midst of it right now, like is its own process towards expertise and growth. So that sounds like that was kind of like you reached a point where you're like, I'm done trying to earn what I should earn to prove myself. I'm just going to do it. What was that like? Like, can you take us back to that? It sounds like it was a little bit of like a build up to just like launch.
Yeah.
But what was it? Yeah.
So what happened was, okay, so I turned 18 and I was like, okay, I can go full out with this. But I was caddying at the time. I'd carry two golf bags, 14 miles. Like, that's my job. And it raised me a ton of money, though. And that's why I loved
Yeah.
it. But at the time, I was like, okay, I'm going to just start. And my parents are like, just start, like, start easy. And of course, with my mindset, I'm like, I just want to go all out, right? So September comes around. And I'm like, I don't want a caddy next year. I don't want to do this. I want to make my business full time. And of course, my parents are like, Rosie, you can't go full time with something this quickly. Like, pump the brakes, get a second job. And
Mm.
I chose to invest the 7 grand, and I had enough in my bank account where so I would save the 500 so I wouldn't have to do it monthly. And I did it. I invested in it, and along with it, it was scary because again, this is a girl who has always struggled with scarcity. At 16 years old, I would not drive my friends around because I didn't want to waste gas money. Like, it was bad.
Mm.
I do struggle with it. And
Mm-hmm.
I did it and I got really uncomfortable. And then that started up. And then the next step was I was like, okay, how can I get so uncomfortable? Because when you're uncomfortable, you are forced to grow. You have got to
Yeah.
grow. And I was applying for jobs at the time, personal training jobs, and I got a couple of them. But something in the back of my head was like, no, don't accept it because you are wasting precious time that you could be putting into your business. And luckily, from having that scarcity and that forced me to save up so much money, I was like, I'm okay. I have money in the bank if I need it. Let's just go all in. Like, burn the boats, just go all in. And it was very stressful, very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
The last, I would say, finally reached a point now where I am making a comfortable full time pay, but the 6 months building was the most stressful. And throughout the 6 months, I also moved to Texas on my own and bought a new car. And like, I went from living at home to now, okay, now I'm on my own. And now I really have to fend for myself, but I'm still not getting another job because, and again, I did apply for other jobs. I did, and I got them. But just something in the back of my head. Don't take it, Rosie. Don't take it. Just trust. Give it a couple more months.
Mm.
You know, what's the worst thing that could happen is you go broke and you have to move back home.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew with my vision and with my work ethic that I could get it done. And some of those days obviously were 12-hour days. And honestly, have I done much ever since living in Texas? No, not really. But I'm content with just working on my business right now and working on myself. And that's just like, if you really want it, that's some of the sacrifices that you have to take and have to make.
Mm-hmm. That scarcity mindset is so like when you said it, like I felt it in my body. I'm like, oh, I have that too, like in many different ways. And it is, especially if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, it's always like in the back seat. It's always talking to you. And so it's really interesting that I love how I would probably categorize what you said as like intuition or however people spiritually or, believe that. Where so cool that you were able to have the strength and the grit to be like, okay, but I'm going to listen to that part of me that this just feels off. Like that internal compass is so big. And so many times it doesn't make sense, right? Because it's just like, I don't get it though. Like, I don't see the next milestone that I'm going towards. Otherwise, maybe I could ride this out. It's just like you have to trust. That big word is trust.
Yeah, you have to.
Are you looking to make a change in your life? Do you desire to come into greater connection with your authentic self and express yourself more fully? Is there a project, passion, or piece of yourself that you've been wanting to create and share with the world? Or have you been working towards a dream, but you've burned out along the way? Do you desire to communicate and connect with others on a deeper level? Do you want to leave a legacy? If you answered yes to any of these questions, but feel you need some assistance with your progress forward, then life coaching might be the next right step for you. As a certified life coach, I use my unique skills and training to help my clients gain clarity on their goals, design a roadmap towards achieving them, and identify the tools, resources, and my favorite, their unique gifts that will support them along their way. And it doesn't matter where you are on the road. If you're right at the beginning, halfway there, almost to that finish line, or you can't even see where the road begins yet. Regardless of where you are, If you're ready to invest in yourself and your dreams with a dedicated coach who's excited to champion you along your way, I would love the chance to work with you. Visit my website, brookfields.com. There you will find more information about the coaching services I provide and how to book your free, no strings attached, 30-minute consultation. Whether you're ready to stop playing small or eager to expand boldly, let's do it together. Tell us more too about, so your dad said, you're not gonna make money as a personal trainer, and you're like, okay, it seems like you absorbed that. You still got the background. So what model do you use now when you're coaching? It sounds like you have groups. What has worked for you?
It's all online. And essentially, all my girls, they check in once a week. I'm constantly tapping into the group chat. I tell them, like, if you have any questions, and I always say, like, you get as much out of the program as you want. Like, you can text me and be on top of things and learn so much or not follow through at all. But it's up to you. So, they'll check in with me once a week. I have group calls once a month right now, lots of resources, lots of guides. And essentially, we just work together and I customize, like I make customized workout plans and nutrition plans for them. And I tailor it to their needs, whatever their goals are. And we get them to a point where they can wake up feeling unstoppable and be confident in not only their body, but the way they show up for themselves on a daily basis. So that's what that looks like. And then I'm helping over hundreds of people now with the BFD wellness program. And I haven't mentioned this too much, but I'm working with 600 employees at the time, in a group chat as well, and just leading them to better health and teaching them habits and ways that they can become the best versions of themselves, and not just in the nutrition aspect, but I know with people with a busy schedule, how can you eat healthy when you're so busy? But also, like, money wise too, because that's a big thing. Is like people want to know how to save money. They don't, but they don't know how to, but it adds up. Everything adds up. Going out to eat adds up. And like literally, I've lived in Texas for 3 months. I've ate out on my own, I want to say once. One time I ate out on my own. I will,
Yeah.
again, like, I prioritize where I put my money, and it was in my business right now. And like, eating out is the biggest thing. And so now that's what it looks like is I have Powerhouse Beauties, and it's more one-on-one based, but also community based. And it's filled with an amazing group of women that are just all like, they come together and they just want to become the best versions of themselves. And it is one-on-one, but we do come together as a community. And then the wellness program is just a huge group of people that want to soak in and learn more about how to have better health, become fit, reach their goals, save money on food, maybe learning how to meal prep and buy food in bulk. And now I'm going to be working with a meal prep service as well. So that makes it so much easier for them.
That's really cool. And that's another huge benefit of the time we're in, tech, all of those things is you can have access to support and guidance at whatever level you're at, right? Like, because I know a good amount of our listeners, while they're interested in health and fitness, because that's a big part of our brand and like that personal development, some of them are just like getting introduced to the gym, right? Or weights for the first time and then like eating. And there can be a lot to digest. And I know you said having a coach and having someone there to just kind of cut the noise, keep you on your path is really helpful. But that money piece included, maybe they can't pay for the one on one. So it sounds like groups are available. And like, what would be a good place if someone's like, okay, I need some direction. I need to rein this in a little bit. And I want to, like you said, feel empowered. Like, what would you guide them towards?
Honestly, the biggest thing is when people are debating on hiring a coach or seeking mentorship in any way, like, it never hurts to just DM me or hop on a call with me. And I love talking to
Yeah.
people about this. So I would say the first step is just you got to do it. Because at the end of the day, and I know people will be like, well, what if I can't afford a coach? You always end up paying for what you value. And if
Mm-hmm.
that means hiring a coach, you're going to find a way. And it is an investment. And there are different options that I have for payment, but a coach, getting a coach is an investment, and it's an investment in yourself, but you also have to think about it. If you don't put a big enough investment in it, are you really going to put the time into it?
That's so true. That's like, isn't it just like a part of how our brains are wired? Like, if you pay for it, it's
Yes.
accountability built in. Because that was like, well, I just put energy, which is my currency, into this. So I need to, yeah. That's a really, really good point is knowing where your values lie. And then, yeah, being aware of your financial threshold, but also maybe being a little bit out of your comfort zone in that might be the accountability that you need.
You've got to be out of comfort zone. And if that means becoming resourceful in ways of like, okay, like how can I spend less? Maybe that's eating out less. Maybe that's making coffee at home. Maybe that's canceling a few subscriptions, spending a little less on clothes and makeup, or just little things like that. Maybe getting your nails done, you can slack off on. Like there's things that you can, or get it, work some extra hours. Like people find a way. They always find a way for what they value. And I will say that coaching is going to be the best investment that you've ever made for yourself. Like I myself, I've invested about over 20 grand now in coaching.
Wow.
And this is not including Tony Robbins. This is not including Tony Robbins because obviously I went with my parents for that, but just on my own, $20,000 in mentorships. And it was the best thing that I've ever done.
Wow. So yeah, you're walking the talk when you talk about investing in that. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. You have to.
Mhm. So to kind of wrap things up, is there anything else just in general that is on your heart for listeners in our conversation today? Predominantly women are our listeners, but there's some men out there and we love you guys for listening. What do you want individuals to know about really anything we talked about? Empowerment, health and fitness, anything you want to share that we just haven't touched on?
Yeah, I would say if you're thinking about doing something, and maybe that's not even health and fitness related, right? Maybe that's starting a business, or maybe that's moving somewhere, or traveling, or whatever it is, find a way to start getting there now because you're always going to regret never starting sooner. And even with a coach, I mean, I have so many clients that come to me months after, haven't gotten to the years yet, but where they regret not starting sooner. And you're always going to regret not starting sooner. And there's always a way that you can make it happen. You just have to expand your imagination and become more resourceful. But time moves so quickly. And if you're not using it wisely and you're just waiting for the perfect moment is never going to come.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a perfect moment. And there's no such thing as a perfect time. And if you're waiting on that, you're never going to find it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say if something's holding you back right now, if you're questioning something, like go for it. Failure is inevitable, it's going to happen. Failure is something that comes with entrepreneurship, personal development. Like you have to fail, but you want to get as many failures out of the way now before you start succeeding because you're not going to succeed any faster because you're going to fail. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what you do, no matter if you wait for a good time, you're going to fail. And failures are a great thing because you're going to get up and learn from it and keep going. And then you're going to look back and be so much grateful for what you did go through.
Yeah. And you guys, that's spoken by someone who labels herself as a perfectionist, right? Like, because it's so true. And actually, just a slight question off of that. When you did hit failures or you made that jump into like uncomfortable territories, did you have practices or things that you learned along the way to help pick yourself back up or process the emotions that come along with that and that fear to like keep yourself grounded? Any advice for the potential entrepreneurs or people just making that jump into any unknown?
Yeah, I would say it's never, you would just have to remember that it's not going to last forever.
Mm,
And it's tough because when you hit rock bottom, it sucks. And I could say go and journal. And yes, like I journal and pray on it. That's one thing. Like God is very close to my heart. And I pray on it all the time. And I know that I have faith and I know that He has a plan for me. But in the moment, does it always feel like He does? No, it doesn't. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I just pray and journal and things are fine.
yeah.
But for me, it's just either remembering why I started is the biggest thing. Remembering why you started and your where you want to go.
Mm,
And I would say for me, it's just keep going. I'll listen to a lot of personal development videos. That helps a lot. And sometimes your stress is really high during this time. It is extremely high, but you just got to keep going and you've got to remember your vision and you have to remember that you are going to achieve at this, but it's going to take time and things are not going to happen overnight. But you just have to trust the process and keep going. And if that looks like taking a couple I wouldn't say take a couple of days off, but take a day off and maybe do something that you love to clear your mind a little bit and then readjust your goals or readjust your progression going forward. I would say do that, but just know that during this time of defeat, you're going to get through it and you're going to be so much stronger. And you just have to remember and you have to have such a belief that you are going to get through it.
yeah. That was really beautifully said. Like I can almost imagine. I really like how you said, remember why you started, remember where you're going, and know that what you're in now is temporary. Like it is. It's setting these beautiful like bookends on a chapter or a portion of your life journey, right? Like it extends beyond where you're starting now and where you're going. So having faith that like, yeah, this middle chunk won't last forever. It's all part of the plan, like where however you find that. And then also just
Yeah.
grounding and allowing yourself to release. That's yeah, that's a really good reminder. Thank you for sharing that experience with us.
Oh, of course, of course.
So a little bit more, I know you told us about Powerhouse Beauties, but tell us like what do you offer right now? Where can people find you if they're like, oh, I do want to DM Rosie? Like, what's the best way to reach you, or how can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so I would say the number one way to reach me is on Instagram. You can go to either Powerhouse Beauty's Instagram or Rose Lifts, which is one that I'm more active on. And another way is just send me a DM. Send me a DM on there and get across from me. And if you don't have social media, I do have an email as well. So Rosie Fonti at iCloud.com. Always updated on that. That's another great one. But yeah, I would absolutely love to, even if that means getting on a phone call with you, giving you some tips, giving you some advice, like whatever that looks like, I'm more than open to doing that. And you don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to reach out. So many women, it's very easy to be shy, but don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be. I come with an open arms and I have so much love for all my clients and for their success and I want the best for them. I always do. And I'll push them to the fullest. And don't be afraid. I also have an application in my bio as well you can fill out, and then I will reach out to you. And some people like that more. It's just like having someone reach out to them.
Sure. That's a great opportunity. Yeah. And we will
Yeah.
include all of the information you shared and links in the show notes for today. But thank you again for your time, Rosie, and talking
Of
to our
course. Thank you
audience.
for having me.
Yeah. Hopefully have you back another time.
Yes, yes, I would love that.